I am just outside the Tudor factory in Switzerland, and it's about time that we took a peek behind the curtain and figured out how Tudor watches are really made. Alright everyone, that seems to be recording. So I wanted to take a little bit of time just before I made this video. I wanted to compile everything into a list, into a my brain, ADHD kind of format, so that I can go over everything that you guys need to know, all the really interesting details. And I have a certain degree of skepticism when it comes to factory visits, and it's purely because I've been on so many now. And a couple of the factory visits that I've been on that I've not posted on the channel are because they won't actually allow you to film what you need to film in order for people to understand how the watch is being made. There's a certain degree of secrecy around it, and that is the polar opposite to what Tudor are doing. When we first walked into the factory, I said to Tudor, listen, is there anything that I'm not allowed to film? And they said there's only two things. One is don't include people's faces, because I'm pretty sure it's uncomfortable enough to be working, doing your job, and then some random watch guy is shoving his camera in your face. So that is extraordinarily fair. And then the next one was don't film the vault. But what we will do is tell you everything you need to know about it in order to speak about it if you want to speak about it, if you choose to speak about it. And that level of transparency from Tudor is pretty incredible. Okay, so let's start with Kenissi. So you have two main buildings. You have the Tudor manufacturer, which is the huge red building on the left here, and then on the right, you have Kenissi. Now, of course, Tudor own Kenissi through a subsidiary, so it actually realistically belongs to Tudor. But what's really interesting about Kenissi is when you walk in, there's this massive clock on the wall, a middle clock, and around it are all these other watches. And essentially what the other watches are showing you is the movements that they supply for other brands. You've got Norqain, you've got Breitling, you've got Chanel, you've got a bunch of others. And it's really interesting that Tudor, essentially Tudor, also supply all of these other brands with their movements. Also, side note that you might find interesting, the first Tudor to have the in-house movement from Kenissi, which is owned by Tudor, it was the North flag. And it's interesting that they said that, because I do wonder if that's making a return. So you have the Kenissi factory essentially supplying all of these movements to the assembly center at Tudor. And the reason that I say assembly center is because the Tudor factory isn't just taking the raw goods and spitting out the watch. It is taking components for tons of different suppliers and putting them together in order to make the watch. Now, this is where it's kind of weird, and I did ask a lot of questions around this. Tudor own most of the suppliers in which are supplying the Tudor factory. So essentially what is happening is all these components are coming in, they're going to the vault, and then the vault is like this massive robotic arm, and it's a stock management system that's placing all the watch components on these trays and then shipping them down the conveyor belt, the train, to each floor of the factory, to each bit of the factory. And then every watchmaker has one thing to do on a certain day in that train, in that line. And you can actually see this really really prominently at the movement at the Kenissi factory, because in the Kenissi factory you can literally see these little trains of movements going down the system beside all the watchmakers. The watchmaker then picks it up, does whatever he is intending to do, so they only have one job at a time, puts it back on the tray, and then puts it down the line. Okay, so now we go to the Tudor factory, and I kind of just described some of this, but essentially the vault is a stock management system. That's essentially what it is. It's this massive robotic arm that's grabbing things out, putting them on trays, and then shipping them down the line. Now, interestingly, when we went into the Tudor factory, there's something really quite interesting that happened. So cleanliness is a top priority. Dust is the watchmaker's worst enemies. Everybody knows this. If you get a little bit of dust in your watch, you're sending it back. There's no chance. So dust is the worst enemy for watchmakers. So what they had is almost like a split room. And on one side of the room, you need to get dressed and then bring yourself into the other side of the room in the Tudor attire. So you have this Tudor kind of cloak, this gown, the watchmaker's gown, if you want to call it that. And then also you need to cover up your shoes with these kind of scrub type things. They look quite funny, if I'm totally honest. But what was really cool about the actual suit that you're wearing is the stitching. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but Kevlar is actually used in bulletproof vests. They use Kevlar because it's that really hard material. But what it also has is a certain kind of property that repels dust. So what they've done is they've stitched in Kevlar into the stitching of these Tudor overalls. And I thought that was really cool. So we left the vault and then we went upstairs to the assembly side of the factory. Again, Tudor were just like, go free, run free, do whatever you watch guys do, film whatever you want to film. And this is where you really saw the train kind of coming in. And honestly, the efficiency in which Tudor are producing their watches is quite incredible. Each watchmaker has a different thing to do, so one of them might be installing the dials, someone else might be installing the hands, etc, 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 and they're working their way down that train. Once the head of the watch is created in that assembly center, it is then scooted off in that kind of train system that is actually in the walls of the factory. It's kind of insane, to the testing center. The testing center is testing for a couple of different things. You've got anti-magnetism, you've got accuracy, you've got waterproofness, and of course, you've got power reserve. And all of these are running in these humongous machines within this floor of the building. And these little robots are essentially taking them. It's quite cool actually. They're in flamingo blue and the pink of the Tudor chronos that Tudor released. It's a cool little detail there. But everything is branded up to the max. It's quite awesome. But these little robots are kind of just like cutting around and then picking things up that have been tested or dropping things off to get tested. Now these Tudor movements are COSC and METAS certified, or they're just COSC certified. So what happens when they're just COSC certified is essentially Tudor tests them, then sends them back to COSC, COSC tests them, then sends them back to Tudor, and Tudor tests them again, and then they get assembled into the final watch. So essentially they're getting tested 3 times for COSC certification. Now METAS is a little bit different. METAS, the machines get tested by METAS to make sure that they're in line with METAS certification once a month. And then finally, once you have the head of the watch, you've got the movement in it, and it's been tested, you get to the bracelet assembly. Now the bracelet assembly is actually quite interesting, again, because you can see the efficiency from these guys. And I think that's something that I'll cover in a second when it comes to efficiency and us getting the best product for the best value. But essentially these watchmakers that are actually fitting the bracelets are trained for 1 to 2 months in order to fit those components as fast as they can without, and here's the kicker here, without actually damaging the head of the watch. Now, everything that is done in this factory is about efficiency. They are using robots wherever they can, and they are streamlining the process wherever they can. Now, if you think of it from a commercial point of view, you can see that the more that they can produce, the better deals they can get on their movements, which they're actually buying from themselves, which is kind of interesting, but the raw components, and the more that they can get scale on their side by supplying other brands as well, like Breitling or Norqain, because that would then kind of scale up their operation, the more that they can give us the best quality product for the lowest price possible. And that's just economy of scale. Let's look at the Tissot PRX, for example, the Powermatic 80. Tissot is owned by Swatch Group, and Swatch Group have essentially got economy of scale behind them, so they can produce a really great watch in the Tissot PRX with a really great movement in the Powermatic 80 movement for the price they can because they're buying in bulk. And Tudor have that economy of scale behind them because they've streamlined their process so much. Honestly, I think it was really, really refreshing to go into a factory and actually be allowed to film what I want to film instead of what the brand want to film me, and that has happened before, so I've got to give a huge kudos to Tudor here. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below of the Tudor manufacturer. What did you guys think? Do you like it? Do you not? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I need another one of these. Also, this is a new place. I'll explain it in another video, but yeah, see you soon.